Welcome to That Sounds Terrific in the 585. Join hosts Nick Koziol and Christine Green as they spotlight the incredible leaders, visionaries, and innovators shaping Rochester and the 585 community. From transformative stories to big ideas, we celebrate the people making our community a better place to live, work, and thrive. So sit back, relax, and listen to what makes the 585 sound terrific.
Hello, welcome to That Sounds Terrific in the 585 with Christine Green, me, and Nick Koziol right there with us. We are co-hosts of That Sounds Terrific, and today we are interviewing Mackenzie Reed. Welcome, Mackenzie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Of course. And so, Mackenzie, as we have all kinds of questions. You have all kinds of stories to share, I'm sure. But to start out, let's tell everybody about a little bit who you are. Before we go backwards, let's start where you are right now in terms of being an author. You are the author of the wildly successful The Rosewood Hunt, but also other books and forthcoming books. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, The Rosewood Hunt was my debut young adult novel, and it's a young adult thriller, kind of like National Treasure meets Knives Out, about a girl whose grandma passes away, and she has to hunt down her missing inheritance with like a ragtag bunch of teens. And that actually came out almost exactly 2 years ago, which is
Wow.
crazy that it's already been 2 years. And then earlier this year in January, my second novel, The Wild Trials, came out. And that was a little bit different. I call that my like dark academia Hunger Games book because it was about a girl competing in a competition to win money for her sister. But as she's competing, someone starts sabotaging her. So she strikes a deal with her ex where he'll help her figure out who's after her if she helps him solve the mystery his dead brother left behind. So that
Mm.
one came out in January. And it's, again, I can't believe that's like been the same year because it seems so far away. But since then, I've actually also have two more young adult books coming out with HarperCollins, who did my first two, and the next one of which is worse than the others. But funny enough, it actually won't come out till 2027. I'm
Wait, that's the title, Worse Than the Others?
Yep, yeah.
Okay. That's the way you phrased it. It was
Yeah,
hilarious. It was like, how
yeah,
can it be worse than your other?
Yeah,
yeah. Don't read this one. It's worse than the
It's
others.
totally
Yeah.
worse than the
yeah. That's how I pitch it, of course.
other.
But yeah, that one's a little bit more like Agatha Christie's and Then There Were None. And it's been a tricky mystery, so I'm still working on it, but I think it's gonna be so fun. But my next release is actually my first adult book, and it's called I Hope This Email Finds You in Hell. And it's a little bit of like a dark comedy, horror, romantasy situation about a receptionist who catches her boss performing an exorcism and discovers that monsters are real and he's a
Mhm.
monster hunter. And when her favorite coworker goes missing, she tags along with him on a road trip through the underworld to save her and maybe the world itself. So that one's been what I'm mostly working on because that'll come out next September, in 2026.
Very cool. That sounds like it should be on the sister podcast right there and talked about.
Yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh,
Little
right?
yeah,
spooky. Sure.
yeah. That's awesome and perfect for right. It's still around spooky season. I know Halloween just happened, but we are still in spooky mode for there.
Oh,
Cool.
absolutely.
Well,
Always.
Well, I have to say, I read The Rosewood Hunt and I totally loved it. I actually listened to it on audio, which is really
Okay,
fun.
great.
Have
Yeah,
you listened to your own books on audio?
I have. I listen to, it's funny, I'll listen to chunks of them to grab sound bites to put on social media. And I like listening to them because I know I've chatted online with both of my narrators that have done the Wild Trials and the Rosewood Hunt. So I like listening just so I can give them like an authentic, like, this was amazing. And I did listen to actually just about all of the Wild Trials. It's always a little weird, like
mhm.
listening back, especially because traditional publishing timelines basically like you finish working on the book a year before it even
Comes out.
comes out. So when I listen back, I'm like, oh, that's my writing from like over a year ago. But I'm still so proud of them and love them. And it is fun just hearing the way the narrators like bring the characters to life.
That's so wonderful. I have definitely heard other authors I have there's a local author, David Seaburn. I don't know if you've met him or
I've
not.
heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, he says the same thing. Like when people ask him about his new books, he's like, it seems so long ago, and part of me doesn't even want to look at it because I will think of what I should have changed.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want to get too in the weeds with it.
No. Um, Nick, I'm totally taking over the conversation here. I'm
It's
sorry.
fine.
I wanted to
That's why I
rewind now.
hired you.
Yeah, I'm getting the big bucks for this, don't you
Hmm.
know?
You get 3 times as much as I get. It's
Yay.
crazy.
I know. Mackenzie, so we want to bring it back to the 585 and tell us a little bit about you are from this area, correct? Am I? So tell us
Yeah.
about living in the 585 and then bring us up to when you start interning at 585 magazine.
Yeah, of course. So I was born here. I grew up in Charlotte. My parents lived down there and still do. And it's so funny because I think when I was younger, I just like didn't, it was during the time of like the fast ferry was open down there and we would walk to the beach every night and walk the pier. And I just didn't realize how rare that was.
Mhm.
And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, wow, I grew up in like a beach town in northern New York. How cool is
Mhm.
that? So I've hold like so much appreciation now for Charlotte and all of Rochester. But I grew up in Charlotte and then I ended up going to Bishop Kearney High School. But I always stayed like east and west side because I have family on both sides. So like I never really, you know, I never was like, I know sometimes some people are like only West Siders or like only East Siders. I always felt really lucky to kind of get the whole experience. But it wasn't until I went to college and I went to Nazareth, now Nazareth University, when I really started like discovering like downtown Rochester and we have so much for the arts and that was so cool to see. And even since then like so many independent bookstores have opened up. Um so many local restaurants and my mom has always owned her own business, Janice Reed Interiors, and now she has a boutique in East Rochester. But like growing up the daughter of a like small business, it gave me a really great appreciation for fellow small businesses and also growing up in a city that like really tries to uplift that. So when I got to Nazareth, I actually started as music business because
Oh,
I before I wrote books, I mean, I started writing books in high school, but I started writing songs when I was like 10. So I had written like tons of songs and I thought I was gonna be like the next great American songwriter. I like was so set on moving to Nashville or like LA. And again, like I got to college and I kind of like re-fell in love with Rochester. And I'm also the youngest. I have two older brothers, so I didn't want to leave at that point because like they had their families now and they live here. And I was like, I don't want to leave here. I want to figure out how to do whatever I'm going to do from Rochester. And that was also when I ended up switching majors to communications and media. And that was like the best thing I ever did because I had spent so much time practicing music things for my music classes that I didn't have a lot of time to write. And when I made that switch, I suddenly like didn't need to spend hours in practice rooms, which is great if you're a musician and that's like your passion, of course. But I think for me, it was becoming like quickly obvious it wasn't mine. And then that was when I finished my first book at Nazareth. I actually finished my first four books at Nazareth. And I was just thinking about this yesterday. I think I did the 585 internship in 2019, spring 2019. Um, and yeah, that was like one of the internships I knew I really wanted because I had followed 585 for a while and I really wanted to do something that was so rooted in Rochester.
mhm.
And at the time I was under Jane Milliman, and I remember it was also the year that Oak Hill had the PGA, and I got to like go to the press thing for that, and it was really cool. So that's kind of what led up to And all that time, like I would go do the internship, I would go to classes still, and then I would come home and write at the end of the day, usually until like really late. I would just be like a gremlin in my dorm, like writing all
Oh
night.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
That's crazy because so some parallels. I didn't go to NAS. I went to Fredonia, right?
Okay, I
And
almost went
so
to Fredonia.
yeah, I went through every major that they had except communications. All right. And the
Okay.
reason was there was a professor there, and I really wish I had done communications because, hey, I got a podcast that makes sense. And it's actually what I'm
Yeah.
doing right now. But music business also was one of my majors. And
Mhm.
it's crazy. Like, music in general, like when you were there, like the non-credit courses that you took, that you're just sitting in a practice room singing, and like that was kind of
Mhm.
crazy. Um, I don't know. It's like four or five things that just didn't count towards anything except that you're just practicing,
Right,
you
right.
know? So,
Absolutely.
do you have an instrument did you play or was yeah.
I played acoustic guitar, but
Mhm.
my instrument was my voice.
Yep, same
And
here.
the funniest part of it is at Nazareth, like for your music business, you have to audition. And
Hmm.
even if you don't want to be a performer, you have to like get into the music business program on performance
Yeah,
skills. And even
Oh,
though
yeah.
I got into the school, I actually didn't get into the program. And they
Hmm.
had said, take voice lessons. We'll set your semester up like you're in the program, which they did.
Yeah,
And then re-audition in the winter. So I did that exactly my freshman year, and I was like hustling. I was like learning piano.
yeah.
Um, I was like doing everything. And I still didn't get in the second time. And at the time, it was like the worst thing that ever happened to me. Of
Hmm.
course, I was
Yeah,
like
of course.
mortified. And looking back, I'm just like, thank God. Because if I had gotten in, I don't know if I would have switched my major officially
Hmm.
then. And I don't know if I would have like ever even finished a book then because I would
Hmm.
have been so like wrapped up with music. So,
Well, in a way, we're glad that you failed.
yeah, right,
yeah.
right. And
But it
failure is
wasn't a failure. It was a misdirect. It was another direction that you went in,
great.
right? But like
Yeah.
I had a similar issue, but with allergies, it took me out of performing for like 3 to 4 months a year.
Oh, wow.
And so I've had sinus surgery twice now, and it's much better now, but you probably can still hear a little bit of stuffiness in my voice. So I think it's really cool though, like how life works, right? So like here you are, I'm gonna be music business, and then you're like you switch to communications, it gives you time to write, and then you kind of sort of fell back into your passion.
Mhm.
So that's really, really cool. But like what was like the moment where you kind of it clicked and said, I want to do this for a living, I want to be a writer.
I think so. The first book I drafted was actually a trilogy, so it was three books. And I remember I was just doing it, and I don't know like why I just didn't think too far ahead. I think I thought I had to be older to be a writer. Like I always imagined authors as people who live in like seaside castles and
Mhm.
I
Had
was like, just in
experiences.
college, like, I don't know. And at the time, my confidence was kind of shot because of the whole music business
Mhm.
thing. So I was like, I'm just doing this for me. But my parents would kind of always be like, well, like, and they knew I was writing it, but they weren't like reading it. But they would be like, well, what are you gonna do with this, like, this whole thing once you finish? And then I actually went on a multimedia internship to Bologna, Italy through
Mhm.
Nazareth. And one of my friends had a book with her called Red Queen by an author named Victoria Aveyard. And it's actually a HarperCollins book. And I finished the book, I read the back, and I like started researching the author, and I realized she wrote the book like in college slash right out of college.
Mhm.
And it just opened up this whole world where I was like, wait, if someone else can do this, I can do this too.
Sure.
And then after that, I think Writers and Books had a conference that took place downtown. So I went to that
Mhm.
conference and I met with like a literary agent. And I think something that became apparent quickly, it was like I knew I had to hone my craft and I knew I had to like learn the ropes of traditional publishing because there's like so many steps.
Mhm.
But I had cold pitched my book to an agent there, and the book should not have been pitched to an agent at the time, but the agent was so interested in it And it made me realize that like I think my communications background with
Yeah.
marketing was going to really help me with, you know, the marketing side of publishing because even traditional publishing, a lot of authors have to market themselves. And that's when I really was like, I want to do this. Like, I don't care how long it takes. I'm and then in the meantime too the pandemic happened and then
Hmm.
it became even more of like this like solace to be able to like pour everything into books and that's how the Rosewood Hunt was born. um so yeah, that was kind of where I really got serious about it. It was like as soon as I realized someone else close to my age had done it, it made me be like, oh, like I can do this too.
Hmm.
That's so cool. So the first, you said those books you wrote in college, they're not the Rosewood Hunt, right? And they're not the Wild Trials. What are they just kind of living in the background in a file on your computer? Or do you think there'll be something you'll pull out and revamp and get ready for publishing someday?
Yeah, I've totally thought about it. When I wrote them, I again like had no idea what I was doing. And something with publishing is when I wrote them, I wrote the whole trilogy. It's young adult fantasy, so it was a little different. And there are just different things that are helpful to know before you write a book, like when you're writing for a certain age group or genre, there's like word count expectations. I didn't know that. I was just writing into the other. So then when I went back and when you get a literary agent, you have to go through a process called querying where you're like pitching the book to them. And you only actually pitch the first book. And I had thought at the time, I'm like, oh, I have the whole trilogy done. They're gonna think I'm amazing. But in reality, like that's not helpful. So I'm glad I wrote the whole thing because it was great for me to like, further my like self, but I then started querying the first book to literary agents and I edited it a bunch at that point as well. But at the end of the day, even though I could tell the concept was intriguing, it still just was like complete rejections. So because of that, I had to shelve all three books. And then my fourth book was my first young adult thriller, and that's the one I connected with my agent with. But then that one didn't sell to publishers. So it's like you get an agent, and then that agent also has to like sell it to publishers.
Hmm.
And then in the meantime, I wrote a fifth book that was more just like free therapy during the pandemic.
Hmm.
And then I wrote The Rosewood Hunt. And then I sent that to my agent, and that one sold quite quickly. So yeah,
Very
it was
cool.
my sixth book actually.
Were
Just
you what was the feeling when your agent came back and said HarperCollins wants this?
it was I remember it was so surreal because I was dog sitting at my brother's house and I had COVID
Oh,
and agents will like call or mine at least will call with good news usually. So when I saw so anytime any this is true to this day, anytime I see her name flash on my phone, I get a little like like seize up and I answered it and she said I have an editor at HarperCollins that's really interested, and I ended up like having a big email from her to like look through, but I was just so ecstatic, especially because Harper had published that original book that
Right.
inspired me. So it felt so full circle to get
Yeah,
to be with them for my first book.
so
that's
cool.
awesome. Yeah,
Thanks.
So
yeah.
cool. How has living in this area influenced the books you write, if at all? I mean, what does Rochester, does the 585, does Lake Ontario, any of that kind of weave its way into any of your stories?
Always. I like always. And it's so funny because it weaves its way in ways I don't even fully realize till like the books are written. So like the Rosewood Hunt, for example, Rosewood Manor is this like beautiful like estate made of like white stone and like And it very much was influenced by the George Eastman house. And like I didn't even realize that when writing it, but then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, this like beautiful estate we have.
Mhm.
And then I had friends come in from out of town for the Rosewood Hunt release, and I was driving down East Ave and they were looking at like, the beautiful houses, and they were like, "Oh, this makes so much
Mhm.
sense about like the architecture in your books and everything." And
Yeah.
I think even though the Rosewood Hunt takes place in Massachusetts, so it's more oceans, seaside, definitely growing up in like a lakeside town.
Mhm.
So I'd say like setting is a huge factor. But I will say with the Wild Trials, that one was it's like a cutthroat, like private dark academia. And even though I don't feel like my school was particularly cutthroat, I think anytime people hear about like private schools, they always have that assumption about it.
Secret
So
societies.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I do feel like that was also kind of an influence where it was more like I ran with it.
So when these, become movies or TV series, you got to make sure they shoot it in Rochester, even if it was supposed to be in like Massachusetts. Because could you
Right,
imagine,
right.
right?
Yeah, no,
Oh
that
my
would be
gosh.
so fun.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say that, Nick, because when I listened to the Rosewood Hunt, I definitely felt like I love a book that it felt very cinematic. Like there's these
Mhm.
adventures and there's like they're in the ballroom by the ocean, like
Hmm.
beautiful
Yeah.
mansion. I was like picturing all this.
Thank
I
you.
always,
Yeah.
picture like actors and stuff, but have you ever, I mean, this might be early in the game for this kind of stuff, but do you envision this possibility in the future with some of your books?
Oh yeah, I'm very like visual myself. So when I write, I very much see it as a movie to the point where like sometimes if I'm writing like a really juicy scene, I have to like get up and pace around to like block it first
Mhm.
and then I'll like go back to writing it. So I actually have had a film agent since the Rosewood Hunt was announced. It was before it came out. And then that agent has represented not just the Rosewood Hunt, but all my books. And that's been really exciting because basically like her she works in, I think she's in LA,
Mhm.
and she'll send me whenever. They usually wait until a book gets closer to release to start pitching it because that's when like buzz builds. But before that, she'll send me like a long list of different like actors, directors, studios, production companies. Because I guess it sounds a bit Wild West on that side of things, where
Mhm.
like things start at any point. And then she'll be like, hey, these are like who I'm thinking of pitching it to first. What do you think? And I'm, of course, just like starry-eyed and like, sounds good to me. And yeah, so as far as I know, like all my books are currently still being pitched. And we are in the throes of some exciting conversations, but I don't
Can't
want to say
talk
what
about it.
particularly
Yeah.
yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
just you never know.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing with film too is like it's somehow even slower than
Yeah.
publishing. And also, I think there's a little bit more room for things to like drop at random. So, but
Yeah.
yes, it's been really exciting because that's certainly a huge dream of mine. So to have movement in that area has been dreamy, especially when I have people like you who are like, when's the movie coming out or
Yeah.
the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I'm
really
like, good, there's
for it.
interest.
Of course. And honestly, I when I interview authors, I usually don't read the books, all right, until after, because I want to kind of come in there blind, because that's a lot
Mhm.
of our listeners are coming in blind, right? So,
Yeah.
but I always like regret it too while I'm in the conversation, because like
That's
I'm like, dang it, I don't know what they're talking
okay.
about. So I can't ask intelligent questions. So I ask silly
Okay.
things like, but one of the things I'm wondering, and if you don't want to answer this because you don't want to answer, you don't have to. But do you have like a vision for some of your characters? Like, is there an actor or an actress that you're like, oh my gosh, love this
Mhm.
person to play this person?
Honestly, I would totally answer it if I did. I don't
Okay.
often have face claims. Though I'll be honest, my worst habit is my face claims are like TikTokers, like random, because I'm
It
so
could
on
happen.
TikTok, and they're like random people on TikTok. So there is this one TikToker, and I can't remember, and she also is like an actual actress too.
Mhm.
Her name's Madeline, and she has like very long red hair, and I do see her as being like a great Lily Rosewood because she kind of has this like air about her.
Mhm.
And then when it comes to like Leo DiVincenzi, who's like the love interest in the Rosewood Hunt, I feel like I just want like a newer actor for him,
Mhm.
because he's very much I don't know if you're familiar with Chase Stokes. He's the lead in Outer Banks.
Mhm.
And I see Chase Stokes, but Chase Stokes is like too old now to play like
Mhm.
a 17
Okay.
year, even though he does right now. But so yeah, I'm always like very
Yeah.
open to newer actors and
Yeah.
actresses.
That was one of the other comments that I was gonna mention. Like you said, that music industry, and then also, well, author being an author is a slow process, but also movie industry is a slow process. That's why I feel like some of these actors and actresses that started at like 16 but look like they're 33 when they're supposed to be
Right.
18. It's like it takes so long to do it.
Well, it's like we've all seen the original Grease, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's these 30-year-old high school students. It's
Right?
so hilarious.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
so used to it as consumers of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's so cool. So I guess the other question I was gonna like ask, it has to do with like friends and family. So like when you started publishing books, how did your parents take it? How did like your friends take it?
They were really excited. My parents are, I'm super fortunate. They've always been like very involved. So it wasn't like suddenly I had a book deal.
Yeah.
Like they knew I'd been trying, they knew, and they'd always been like really supportive. And then also, I met my now fiance back in
Oh,
college.
congrats.
So thank you. We like just got engaged.
I know. I was just
Awesome.
gonna
That's
say
awesome.
it was yesterday, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh,
Congratulations.
wow.
Thank you. But yeah, and we met back at NAS, so like I was just starting to like finish books back then. So thankfully everyone in my family is so supportive, and like they know like way too much about publishing, like the inner workings of it, and my parents especially. But I remember when I first told them about the book deal and with Harper, and they were just like ecstatic about it. And it's something like appreciate so much is it's always been such a big deal to them.
Mhm.
And my brothers are both like so smart. They are medical professionals who work at the hospital,
Mhm.
and they do like amazing things. And they also think it's so cool. So to like have a whole family who's really supportive, really excited. They like tell everyone they know. My fiance tells people at work. My brothers tell people at the hospital. Like I say they're all my like built-in PR team.
Mhm.
Kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
do the local outreach for me. And it's just really fun to like, take them along for the journey. And then when I Hope This Email in Hell sold, that sold in an auction
Mhm.
to Berkeley, which is with Penguin Random House. And that was just like a really surreal experience because I had never gone through an auction before. So having my parents to like kind of like bounce things off of and get advice. And like, of course, my agent does that as well, but it's just really helpful to have people I can turn to for some of the things I'm not as good at.
That's
You
so
made me, yeah,
wonderful.
that's awesome. And you made me think of something else. What a childhood friend of mine, his brother is a doctor, and he is a very like accomplished tech guy, for a huge hotel chain or whatever. But whenever he used to make fun of his parents because whenever they get introduced at parties, they'd be like, "This is my son Brian, the doctor," and he has a other son David.
Yeah, yeah.
But now you've got an author,
They're
and you've
so
got
Right.
it.
No, and it's funny because like one of my brothers is a doctor.
Yeah,
So, again, they do like such cool things on the daily,
yeah.
and it means so much to me that like we're all equally cool in our parents' eyes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Course. That's
And
so great.
and congratulations on your engagement. And I can't believe it just happened so recently. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's just recently.
Yeah.
Did
So
he surprise
Yeah, that's what I was
you?
going to ask.
he did. Yeah, it was the type of thing where like I knew it was coming soon. But he was kind of like, let's like go for a walk and then go for dinner. And we really love the river walk trail that goes to
Mhm.
Turning Point Park.
Hmm.
Because again, it's like close to where I grew up, and we've done that walk together and with my family a lot. So yeah, it was there and it was just really lovely. And I love like the, leaves this time of year and all
Yeah,
of it. So very
beautiful.
scenic.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back and ask you about the auction for your book. Like, I've heard a little bit here and there from other authors who have gone through that. Tell us what it's like as the author to kind of, how does the auction work?
Mhm.
Yeah, how does it work? I think people would be really fascinated by that.
Yeah, I will say I've heard there's like a couple different like structures to it that usually the agent will decide. But how mine worked is my we had very quick interest in my book, like even quicker than the Rosewood Hunt. And so for kind of a 2 week period, I was taking calls with editors like over Zoom, and every editor kind of has like a bit of a different like vision for a book. Like some of them had more heavy edits for it. Some of them were like, this book is definitely a romantasy. Some of them were like, this book is a horror. This book is a normal romance. So it kind of um they have different ideas when it comes to positioning. And then a lot of them too had came with ideas for marketing plans, which was really cool. And then my agent basically set a date for the auction. And after we had the calls, she said, we need best offers or something like that by, I think it was like 2 p.m. or something. So it was the most stressful day of my life
Sure.
because I was just like, I'd had calls with so many editors and they all were lovely too, but you get in your head about it and then you're like, you know, one of the best pieces of advice I got and didn't listen to, and I should have, is like, wait until the offers come in because the offers speak for themselves. But instead, I kept trying to be like, just based on the conversations, be like, oh, like, I wonder if I'm going to end up here, or like end up
Mhm.
here, you know? So it kind of turned into like that. But then once the offers came in, then something else that was really cool is some of the editors sent like, and this like has never happened before to me, so this was like, very cool, but they sent like PowerPoint presentations with like exactly what they plan to do for marketing and their vision for it. And it was very much like tailored to the book. So we got like our first round of offers, and then I think there were like 3 or 4 editors in the running for it. Um, and some of them kind of got elbowed out before the auction even took place because when there are like multiple imprints at a publisher, sometimes they can't bid against each other.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that means the lower one usually has to like drop out if they can't meet the higher one. So that happened before it even started. And then the auction took place. And then there were kind of a couple rounds of like, you know, basically we got like best offers. And then my agent would go back and be like, basically, I don't know, like what else can you do because
Yeah.
this is like close between you and so and so. And then you just try and kind of finesse. There's like not only the offer amount, but how many books they're offering for, which for me, I'm pretty sure everybody was offering for 2 books, which is kind of like 1 or 2 books is industry
And there.
standard.
Mhm.
But then the other thing to always think about with the offer is what are the rights? So my Harper deal was world English rights, which means they could like publish it anywhere as long as it was in English. But with this book, we really wanted to hold on to world rights. So we were only looking to sell North American rights. So if a publisher like offered for world rights, we had to come back to them and be like, okay, but like we're only giving up North American, so what's your new offer for that?
Mhm.
So thankfully my agent, kind of did all of that. And then we ended up with our final like highest offer. And even though you don't always have to go with the highest one, it, just depends on like the editor and the
Sure.
house. So you still have some choice in it. But for me, like working with Berkeley has been like my dream. They publish like some of my favorite authors. So I was super ecstatic to be with them. And then we didn't like finalize it until like 9 p.m. at night when my agent called and was like, okay, like we're good. Like, hope you celebrate tonight. And
Wow.
I'm at
That's
home
awesome.
like a shriveled up like shrimp, like exhausted from the day. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. But it was so exciting. And it's the type of thing where like they are like fairly rare. So I kept telling myself, like, enjoy it. You might never experience it again.
Mhm.
But it was great.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so amazing. That's so amazing. Years ago, and I'll never remember the name of the author, so it doesn't matter, but there was a local author who had her book go up in a really big auction, and it was like, I don't know if they're all like this, but it was published, how much and who got it and the whole thing. And man, it went from really quick, like I had no access
Hmm.
directly. I had to only do email questions. I
Mhm.
couldn't, like,
Yeah.
it was really like suddenly she was like a
Mhm.
celebrity, and
Yeah.
which I get, but also like, dude, you're from Rochester, like
Yeah.
chill, be just talk.
Right.
And then the book didn't do that well, I guess.
That's every author's fear for sure.
Right.
But that happens, but you
Mhm.
already have the solid foundation with Rosewood Hunt and the Wild Childs. What is your fan base like? Do you interact with fans a lot? Do you get messages from fans like on social media
Mhm.
or even just through email?
I do, yeah. Every now and then, like I'll get things from through email because I have a little like form on my website. And then I also will get DMs sometimes from
Mhm.
fans. It's so funny. I never like think about them as fans. I just think about them as like readers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I've gotten some, it's fun because I'm now at the point where there are a couple I like see repeatedly, and a couple are even local to Rochester.
Mhm.
So it's nice to just know that like when I release a new book, like they're so excited no matter what. Like I was a little bit nervous with I hope this email finds you in hell because it is
Mhm.
adult and it is different for sure. And so far it's been met with so much enthusiasm. But my favorite DMs I'll get sometimes from teens specifically, and they'll say, like a mixture of the things. Some of them say they like don't like reading, but they had to read my book because it's been on like reading list for school, which I
Mhm.
love. I'm so grateful for teachers
Oh,
who do
Yeah.
that.
That's
cool.
awesome.
And then they say like I read your book so fast and now I love reading.
That's
And
great.
so knowing it's like an entry for some people, and then I've had other people say, like as you know, the Rosewood Hunt, both books really deal with like grief in different ways.
Mhm.
And I've had some people message and say that they feel really alone, and reading the book made them feel less alone, or it was really helpful to see a teen like going through something similar that they're going through. So yeah, I love messages like that. I'm always happy to like get them in my DMs. It's certainly not like every single day, but it's when it does happen, it's like really special.
And how do you deal with the critics? Do
Mhm.
you get people reaching out or book reviewers critiquing in a way that might sting a little bit? I mean, and I don't know. I haven't seen any of those. Have you experienced some of that, and how do you deal with that?
So, a lot of reviews take place on sites like Goodreads.
Hmm.
And as an author, I mean, I'm on Goodreads because like my books are on there, but I don't go out of my way usually to read negative reviews. And if I have them, I just feel like that's the place they should be. So, like, I'm not gonna like interact with them. Sometimes I'll get tagged in a review. And I think what happens more than anything is I think like, to me or to most authors, like we don't want to see a review unless it's like a 5-star review, right?
Sure.
But then like some reviewers, their basis for a good book is like 3 stars, let's say. So
Hmm.
every now and then I'll get tagged in a review that's like 3 stars, and I read it and it's like mostly complimentary, a little bit of critique. And usually I just don't engage with it just because I I don't know. It always feels a little weird sometimes to get tagged in critique because to
Hmm.
me it feels like the book's out. Like I can't do anything to it
Yeah.
at this
Mhm.
point. And like I appreciate, the thought, but for the most part, like most authors really only want to see like the good stuff. And I do love seeing the good stuff. And then I fully encourage people to still review things authentically on their own. But for the most part, like if anything is less than like, I love this book, I'm just like, I can't read.
It's so
And there,
funny.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's so funny because there's another podcast I listen to, and there's an ongoing gag where this reviewer went on, reviewed the podcast, and said, "Best podcast, the 3 out of 5 stars wouldn't change a thing." He's
Yeah.
so he brought it up. He's like, I don't understand. He's like, if you wouldn't change a thing, how is that 3 stars and not
Yeah.
five? And so from that, he like actually got a bunch of ratings for 3 out of 5 stars because people were like, it's kind of a comedy podcast, so they were kind of making a joke, and I'm like, but his ratings are going down.
Oh
Yeah, right. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
I think that's what's so like funny about it is, and again, you guys get it. When you
yeah,
have ratings, anything that isn't a 5 makes it go
yeah,
down.
no.
So of course we see it as the negative, but like as a reviewer, there are a
yeah,
lot of people who are like 3 is great, and like there are some people who
Yeah.
will never give 5 stars. So
yeah,
I try not to ever take anything too like personally, and I also just feel really strongly that like I know my books aren't for everyone, and
yeah.
it makes it more special the people they are for and the people who do get it. And thankfully there have been a lot of people who they do connect with. So I just focus on that.
Yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
good. What are you reading right now?
Yeah.
I just finished a early copy of my friend's book that comes out in May called Safari Murder Party, and it's like a corporate retreat where everybody has to like kill for a promotion basically.
Oh my God.
That's
Yeah.
by Rachel Moore, and it's so good. It's so funny. It's like so um it's like ridiculous but in like the best way.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Did you say the author's name?
Rachel Moore.
Okay.
Rachel
It's called
Moore.
Safari
Oh,
Murder Party.
Wow.
has she written other books?
She did. She actually came to Rochester to do my event for the Rosewood Hunt with me. So
Okay.
she has 2 young adult books as well.
Is it what can you name the other one? I feel like
Her
I know.
first one is The Library of Shadows, and her second one is Us in Ruins,
Oh,
which
okay. I
Good memory.
definitely have heard that.
yeah, yeah.
Name. Yeah.
So I love Safari Murder Party is amazing. I love that book. So I just finished that one, and then I'm currently listening to First Time Caller by
Mhm.
BK Borison, and I think that's the name, and that's been a great book. And then I'm also reading, I love Allie Hazelwood, and she has a new paranormal romance out called
Oh,
Me,
cool.
and that's good too.
Awesome.
Nice. Do you have a favorite author?
I do. I have a few for sure, but one of my like all-time favorite authors, her name is Holly Black, and she wrote the Cruel Prince books, which are the Folk of the Air series.
Hmm.
And it is just some of the best writing I've ever like it was so impactful to me because the books are in like first person present, and the voice of the main character is so good and authentic and like gripping. Um, and as someone who also writes in first person point of view, like I love reading books like that because they
Yeah.
really inspire me to get in my characters' heads. And she just like writes these masterful like fantasy books that are perfectly plotted as well. So I love
Very
everything she
cool.
writes.
Wow, I
Yeah, that's
love it.
awesome.
Hey.
Well, we're getting kind of down to the last couple minutes here. We do these last 5 questions, 5 and 8, 5, 8, 5. So I thought maybe you'd start off with you kind of touched on some of these things, but like, what's a favorite restaurant in the 5, 8, 5?
Oh my gosh, such a good question. I love Vern's lately. Like
Mhm.
every time I go to Vern's, I have a great meal. And then I also really love Pearson's to work in. They're like my go-to cafe most of the time. So
Cool. You
very
just,
convenient. They're right next door to each other.
yeah, you
Yeah.
just answered one of the other questions was any favorite 585 writing spots that we should try out.
Ooh, yeah, I love Pearson's, love Mellows. Let me see. There's so many. I'm really excited to try Leai. I can't
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
Hmm.
They opened in Henrietta, but now they're also coming to Park Ave. I'm excited for there. I also love, again, to bring it back to like the Charlotte area, I
Hmm.
love Sips. They have
Okay.
like the best cafe food.
Hmm.
It's a little small, so I don't always like write a lot there, but I absolutely have to shout out Sips too.
Cool, cool.
Wonderful.
Well, we
Good.
always want to have places that we can go to have our little that sounds terrific in the
Yeah,
585 lunch meetings, right, Christine?
yeah.
I know. I know. We haven't had a
What's the
lunch
new
meeting
place? Yeah, we have to
in a
do
month or
that. We've
so.
got some more
I
suggestions. These are just
me
questions that give us good suggestions.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm always
so
looking.
if you're a visitor to the 585 or your hometown or wherever, what is it like a must-go spot before you leave?
So if it's summer, I love telling people to go to Charlotte and they can like grab a burger from Bill Gray's, they can walk the pier, they can get Abbott's. I always
Habits.
tell
Oh
people
yeah,
to get
Abbott's. Yep.
Abbott's. Like I grew up with Abbott's.
Hmm.
If people have kids, I tell them to always go to the Strong Museum. I think
Hmm.
it's like one of the coolest places ever. And yeah, I feel like those are my musts. If it's fall, I always recommend walking, doing like a hike in Durand, Eastman Park.
Yep.
Yeah, just anywhere that gets them around the town and also going to Jiva because I love
Cool.
Jiva.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the last question that I'll ask, any advice for any budding 585 young authors that you would give?
Absolutely. I feel like one of the hardest hurdles to get past as a new writer and a seasoned writer is finishing the book.
Hmm.
And there's always like a shiny new idea. There's always a point where it feels like it's not good. And I can like confidently say, like, every first draft I write feels like it's kind of garbage. And that is okay. Like, that is part of the experience. And I think what's most important is to just keep writing and not give up because this is an industry where you like can get faced with a lot of rejection. But I think like practicing the craft of just like continuing to write and tell new stories is something that will get you so far. And also helps build like a lot of perseverance and resilience and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So just whatever you do, keep writing and finish the book and then go write
Finish the
another
book. Yeah, that's my biggest problem. I have like 30 started books.
book.
I also run into that whole issue of like, oh my gosh, I just read a book or I just saw this movie that did the exact
Yeah,
thing that I was writing about. It's
yeah,
happened so many times. It's kind of funny. I've
So if
got
you
everyone
write
else's
nonfiction,
ideas.
if you write memoir, then it's easier
Yeah.
because it's just your
Well, you know
what
what?
you're
Someone
no one's
might
gonna
want to
take
be
your
me.
idea.
yeah.
Someone might want to be me, you know?
You
That would
never
be my
know.
book. Yeah.
No.
And the very last thing, and we will
Yeah.
definitely let you go. Do you have any upcoming events
Yeah.
that you locally that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I'm so excited. This Saturday, actually, November 8th, is the Rochester Children's and Teens Book Festival. It is now open to teens this year, which is a newer edition. It's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. On MCC campus. And I'm so excited for it because we have like a kids area where that the like younger kids can do crafts, but then we have a teen scene where teens can make like friendship bracelets, they can leave book racks, they can do I think like a graphic novel page. And then there are tons of authors who will be there all day doing story times, presentations, panels. I'm on a panel at 2:50, which is the Who Done It like mystery panel. So I'm really excited for that. And overall, it's just been like really fun to watch this come together. And I really hope everybody comes because we'll also have like food trucks and, of course, books for sale. So I think it'll be a great time and another indicator that like we're so lucky to live in Rochester.
Yeah.
Where we have, these, and it's free. So, come and
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
support.
wrote about the festival in the most recent 585 Kids.
Yes,
My
yeah,
plug
thank
over
you.
here. So pick it up it's free at local Wegmans and all kinds of different places, Strong Museum, RMSC. And it's just something we always love to support. And such a great group of people who run Rackley and the
Mhm.
whole thing. So we
Yeah.
have some of those people on our freelance staff too.
Yeah. And we've had them on the podcast before
Yeah.
too, some of them.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but Mackenzie, thank you so much for being on the show. Really excited about all the work you're doing and how you've impacted so many lives. You probably more than you even know. With the
Yeah.
work that you're doing, that's always a fun thing when you have like a reader or someone reach out to you and later in life and say, "Hey, you inspired me," right? So I'm sure that is happening. Can you just give us a quick way for our listeners to reach out to you, your website and things like that?
Yeah, my social media for Instagram and TikTok is Mackenzie M. Reed, and then my website is mackenziemreed.com. And then I'm also on YouTube at Mackenzie Reed Writes.
Nice. All right. So we'll make sure we have that all in the show notes. Thanks again, Mackenzie, for being on the show. You're an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much. This was
having me.
amazing.
Yeah, this was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of That Sounds Terrific in the 585. Check out our website, www.thatsoundsterrific.com, to see a full list of episodes and learn more about our hosts, Nick Koziol and Christine Green. Be sure to find us on your favorite social media platforms or podcast listening service by searching That Sounds Terrific, and feel free to give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy our show. Until next time.